Hi, everybody. It's almost 1 o'clock, so I thought I'd come in and into your lives, check in with me. I see I'm kind of here bantering with myself, but I always do that until I start seeing people check in. There are 6 of you, 7 of you. Come on, guys, say hi to me so I don't feel like I'm babbling. I do talk to myself. Don't we all talk to ourselves? I think so. Maybe not out loud. Hi, all right, Donna Lynn, you're joining me from New Jersey. They aren't trying to open up your state. No, we're all that tri-state area. We're in this together. You know what I mean? Like together. So we'll let a few other people join us, okay, Donna? And as other people start checking in and letting me know that they're with us, which we have almost 20 people with us. Let's see who's checking in now. Deanna is checking in from Maine, kind of like my second home. We spend our summers up there. We're hoping that summer camp is going to be open this summer because that's my husband's business up there, and that's why we spend our summers on beautiful Long Lake. Here's Deborah Moore Robertson. You are coming to us from, everything keeps scrolling up, Falls Church, Virginia. Deborah Terrill, and Deborah is going to be with us today, and I'm going to tell you in a few minutes what's going on. Elise, hi. Anna May Foley, you're joining us from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and excited for your show today. Okay, so do you guys know, did I tell you yesterday what I'm doing today? You know that I had my 3 daughters while I was on Good Morning America. You guys practically were in the hospital with me. You actually were. The day after Jamie was born, I remember all these guys from the show, my buddies, they come traipsing into my room at like 4 o'clock in the morning to take all the cords out the window and hook them up to the satellite truck because I introduced Jamie to the world. And Sandy Stockdale. Hi, Sandy. You're with us again today from Naples, Florida. It's got to be pretty nice down there. Valerie, you're from from Minnesota. Hi, Glenda. And let's see. And from Jeanette from North Dakota. All right, so I'm gonna get to this, okay? It's Friday. What is it? It's April 17th. We would usually be saying TGIF, except tomorrow's gonna be pretty much the same as today. But I am going to share with you today my surrogacy experience. I remember when surrogacy first started, I was obviously hosting GMA, and in the beginning, they were what is called traditional surrogates, where they would find a woman who agreed to have a baby for a couple, but it was her egg, and so she was the baby's mother, and it created a lot of problems. And they were like horror stories, these heart-wrenching stories. Who does this baby really belong to? The birth mother, the blood relative, or the couple who had contracted her and had a legal contract. Well, back in those days, I don't know how legal everything was. Now it's like, it's come so far. And I'm sure there are still some of those traditional situations, but most surrogates today are gestational surrogates, which means that an embryo that's, an egg, a sperm of somebody else is implanted in them, and they are carriers. They just carry the baby through that gestational pregnancy. It's kind of like my oven's broke, can I use your oven? That's really more like, to put it in real lay terms. But there's so many different ways to create families. I came from a family where my brother was adopted. My mom had miscarried like 4 times, and she really wanted a baby, and she just wasn't. It wasn't happening. So my dad was a doctor and best friends with a gynecologist also. That was his best friend. And they arranged, I think it was a nurse in the hospital who was pregnant. So they arranged to adopt this baby. And when the baby was born, my dad went there and watched, the delivery, and my mom came down and saw this beautiful little baby boy, Jeffrey, and they took him home, and he was 3 days old. And my mom's friends all came over to do a baby shower for her, and she was in the bathroom very sick to her stomach because she was pregnant with me. So my brother and I were 7 months and 29 days apart. And we were really raised as twins. She used to dress us alike. And so I grew up understanding adoption. And, you know, these days, because of divorce, people come together. It's my kids and your kids. And now it's sometimes then on top of that, our kids. So families are made in a lot of different ways. But about 750 babies are born every year in this country through a surrogacy. And those women are very important in our life. They're not blood relatives to our kids, but we wouldn't have our kids without their help. So I want to share with you, I'm going to show you some pictures first, okay? Because we decided just after a couple of in vitro tries, like you count in dog years, you know, when you're in your 40s. And so we said, let's just use a surrogate. And the whole idea here is to get children. That's not an achievement thing to see whether I can get pregnant. So we went through an organization in California called Center for Surrogate Parenting, because they were like kind of the biggest and the tried and true tested. In California, the laws for surrogacy, there had been precedents set. So they matched us with Deborah, and she turned out to be a perfect match. So I'm going to show you the experience a little bit pictorially first, okay? And then we're going to call Deborah. So this was the little bundle of joys that arrived on June 10th. And look at how, like when they put them in the nursery, they don't separate them. They keep them right up close together because they've been real up close together. And here we are. Jeff and I were in the delivery room for the delivery. Up at Deborah's head. There was some discretion. And I just want to show you, well, here's my Lindsay and Sarah were there for the birth, and so were Deborah's girls. So these are my girls and Deborah's girls. It was such a cute scene. They were all similar in age, and they were all taking turns dressing the babies. And then we showed Deborah. So here's Deborah. I think that's Kate that she's being shown right there. Deborah was such a good sport. And they told us that when we took them home, not to put them in separate cribs, because we had made this nursery with pink and blue. They said put them in the same crib horizontally. So these are the babies laying across the crib, like just up close up together. And every time we'd go in, you'd see this. Twins. I mean, they were always holding hands. Here they are. We took them out for a little walk and get a little sunshine. Look, they're holding hands. It's like I went through a lot of pictures. I got real carried away looking at pictures, and I have to like make my files a little bit better in here. And then it was their first birthday. You can see the balloons in the back. We did one of those things that people do, like we had, I don't know, stilt men and jugglers and the whole thing. And we had Deborah. So she was there. This is a picture captured by People magazine. And so it was just the whole thing. So much fun. All right, so let me go in. She's not an iPhone girl. She's an Android gal. So I'm Google hanging out, I guess, with you. Hi, how you doing, Deb?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I want to introduce you to all my friends. Here, let's figure this out here. All right. All right. So this is Deborah. And I want to go back in time, because if we go back in time to when you first thought about doing this, that really kind of, I think, explains to everybody out there how surrogacy, the seed, the idea starts. And I remember you told me it was when you were reading a magazine.
It could have been an ad for an egg donation or a surrogacy agency. I was in my 20s. I wasn't dating. I wasn't married. And I always had, as soon as I read that, I thought, this is something I'd like to pursue, kind of tucked it away in the back of my head. And then, decades later, after I had my 3 girls, it kept coming back. And so I started researching it, looking online, finding the best agency that I thought that had the best reviews and the most press. Like you said, CSP is the world's leader in surrogacy agencies, top notch. All the celebrities go there, and honestly, the reason I went with them is back in the day, I watched Days of Our Lives. I was a huge soap opera fan. Deidre Hall used CSP for her 2 children, and her whole story was on the website, and I thought, well, if Deidre's going to put her story on this website, it's good enough for me, so that's why I signed up with CSP.
And they at first matched you to a couple in Belgium, right?
I did. Yep. I carried twin boys for a couple in Belgium. They're a British couple. And then 6 months later, you're allowed to re-up. And as soon as I delivered William and James, I'm watching the 2 parents in the corner, and they're holding their little boys and looking up at me and looking back at them. And I'm like, yep, I'm doing this again.
Oh my gosh.
So I signed up 6 months later, and we were matched up with you and Jeff.
So what did you think? Because I know that when Jeff said to Center for Surrogate Parenting, you got to know that with Joan, there's going to be a lot of publicity around this. So we need someone who's got a strong, who's very strong in her character, who's going to be able to handle this. When you got matched up with us, they flew us both to Annapolis, for whatever reason. I think there was a satellite office there. What were you thinking? Jeff called that, by the way, the ultimate blind date.
Exactly.
What were you thinking?
When Barbara Cohen, our counselor, said that they had a couple in mind for me, normally in a surrogacy, the surrogate gets to pick the couple first. We decide which couple we want to work with. They send us profiles. We decide. They send my profile to them, and then we match up. But in your case, she said, we have a high-profile couple who wants a surrogate who's already been through the program at least once, who's a little more mature, air quotes, mature, and who can possibly, because there might be a lot of press involved with this instead of just a normal surrogacy. So I thought, okay, and she didn't give me her name. She said she was in TV. She's a TV journalist. She had 3 older daughters, and I'm doing my best CSI to try to figure out it was you, which a couple of our coworkers did figure out was you. And then they flew us, and then did they send my profile to you, or already sent?
Oh yeah, we saw your profile. So on my way to that meeting, I was afraid that you wouldn't want to do it because of the fact that I was high profile, and it might be kind of a pain in the butt, having to deal with press.
I had no idea what kind of press this would.
Oh, yes.
You were on TV, you had your Wickedly Perfect show, so you were on TV at the time.
On a prime time show. So we should just back up. We said yes to each other. And we both went away. We weren't supposed to say yes or no at the meeting. And they said, you take a few hours to think about it. And we waited, and it was torture. But we both called back, I think within the hour, right?
Right. You're already sitting in the room. You and Jeff are sitting in the room. My husband and I are standing out there, and the counselor's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Holy crap, it's Joan Lunden." And so, because I watched you for years, my parents watched you for years. It's just, it was you. And I walked in, and I went, "Oh my God, it's you." And then as soon as you started talking, I forgot that you were a celebrity. You were just another intended mom and a husband who wanted a child, and that was it. The celebrity part was gone for me.
And it was throughout the whole process. I remember going out to California because that's where they implant embryos, because that's where the laws in California are the best. They've been tried and tested. And so then you always would call us. I can remember being in the car driving, you'd call and say, Baby A has the hiccups. You always referred to them as Baby A, Baby B, or, hey, Joan, your babies today.
Right. It's, they tell you keep the parents, especially if they're not in the same city, you keep them as involved as you can. They're their children. They want to know what's going on. You'd call all the time. You came to all the visits, but it's just, you want to tell them what their child is doing. If they're kicking me, if they're keeping me up at night,
Oh, well, wait a second. I made an audio tape, remember? An audio tape for you?
You did, and it was a little cassette, and we put the headphones on my belly, and I honestly got kind of tired of the theme after a while, but I'd play your sound every night. So, hi, this is Mommy, and can't wait to meet you. And, we play that every night for the kids. So I don't know if they heard it or not, but kind of took away from, you not being there. It really made it very special.
They say that babies do hear music and sounds, so on the hunch that maybe that was for real, that's what I did. And
I wanted them to hear your voice too. Yeah.
And as a surrogate, there were tons of shots that you had to have. And your daughter, I think you showed her how to do it like on an orange.
I did. First, I had my husband do it. He was too scared of hurting me, and he would actually hurt me. And I'm like, I'm officially firing you as shot giver. And Alexandra practiced on an orange, and she said, I'll do it. And she was, 13?
Oh, yeah.
13? She gave me shots for almost 17 weeks every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't do it myself.
And then we came in, I remember, we came in a bunch of times for when you got ultrasounds, but I remember the first time, and we heard one heartbeat, and then the doctor says, you want to hear the other one? Twins!
You're like, what? I know the OB had me come in the day before.
I remember.
Because he just wanted to make sure everything was okay. So I knew it was twins when they were doing the ultrasound with you and Jeff. And then you looked at him, and you looked at the doctor, and you looked down at me, and I'm like,
Yep, twins. Well, that was back in the day. These days, they have perfected surrogacy and in vitro to an extent that they can test all the embryos and find out which one is viable. That really wasn't perfected back then, so I think they put 3 embryos in. I was just happy it was just twins.
Yeah, you and me both. For a couple of weeks there, all 3 had stuck around, and I'm like, okay, she's getting triplets. I'm almost 6 foot tall. I can carry triplets.
But let's not.
I'm excited you and Jeff would have been.
Well, only we knew about this in our close circle of friends. And then finally, I remember my attorney, Mark Chamlin, called and said, if you think that you're going to come in under the radar having twins with a surrogate, that ain't going to happen. Like, you have to go public. And so I decided to go public on Larry King's show because Larry and his wife had also had children with a surrogate with the same Center for Surrogate Parenting. And that was an hour-long show where you could really discuss surrogacy in depth. And so I also talked about the fact that they really supported all of you surrogates, that there was like I don't know what it was, a website or something where you could all go and you could talk amongst yourselves and share your stories, or you could ask each other questions. And by talking about that, the tabloid, somebody hacked it.
Yeah, we had quarterly meetings. They flew all the surrogates out to Annapolis with the counselor. Anyone who could fly did, and we would sit around all weekend and tell our stories and have sleepovers, and it was an amazing time, and they were very supportive. And if you could tell your birth story, which I did after I came back, you showed pictures, and it was very, the agency is amazing. I can't.
Yeah, it really was. I couldn't say enough good things about it. But before I go to what happened right before, the next day, the next morning, people are coming on saying hi. Of course, you know my husband, and his sense of humor, he says, first question for Deb. We now have 4 teenagers, 20 months apart in age. What's your refund policy?
No, you don't have a receipt. There's no refund. I was going to ask you if you wanted me to come out of retirement, Jeff.
Don't you dare ask him that. Okay, so wait.
Come on, Jeff.
So when we were at the hospital for the second birth for Kim and Jack, Jack took his nice sweet time coming out, and they were almost starting to talk about a cesarean. You looked up at my husband and said, Jeff, if you want any more kids, you're going to need to get a new surrogate. And I said, Deb, if he wants any more kids, he's going to have to get a new wife.
For sure. I remember the second set when I had my ultrasound and it showed 2 more. I called Jeff. He was at work. I said, well, we heard a nice, healthy heartbeat. And then I paused and I said, right next to the other one.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, okay. I'll get back to you. And then he probably called you and went, oh my God, 2 sets of twins.
Well, the tabloids found out who you were, and you found out that the tabloids found out by looking out your kitchen window. And what, photographers on your front lawn?
They were going around the neighbors asking for information. You know, the tabloids were putting their cards in and eventually they were staked out at my work. They took pictures of me walking in because they wanted to find out Joan Lunden's mystery surrogate. You know, so they took a black bar over my face and took pictures of me. And so
we took all the fun out of it for them, because as soon as that started happening, I didn't want you to bear this burden. So we had been approached by People magazine to do a cover picture, and we had said no. We called them back and said, all right, we'll do it. Because the way the tabloids work is that if there's a picture to be gotten, they put a bounty on your head, basically, and everybody wants that money shot. But once the picture's out, the bounty comes off. So I called People magazine, and see this? You remember this magazine?
Yes.
Woo-hoo-hoo. So they flew us and they flew Deborah into Cincinnati, where Deborah lived.
Yeah.
And on the way out from the photo session and the interview, I put my arm around Deb and I looked at the reporter. I said, she's having my babies. And that, of course, became the byline, the whole headline. Here, I'm going to scroll up and all the people saying hi. And then, you know, you don't have to. Up in front, they make you decide all these things, like how much of a relationship do you want to continue on having with your surrogate? Do you just want a picture every birthday, or like, what do you want? And you don't have to stay in touch, but I couldn't imagine not staying in touch.
It's not contractually, you know, we're there to do a job. They ask that you send pictures for at least the first year, but I mean, that's all that your obligation is. We helped create a family for you, and that's the end of our job. And if we get a chance to be friends with you afterwards, that's great. But if that doesn't happen, that's okay too. It's just, the point is to help you create a family, to give you a child or children.
Well, we did a little more than send a picture on the first birthday. Yeah. Here you are with us at the first birthday party of Max and Kate. And this was Max and Kate's first photo shoot for Ladies Home Journal. It was right before their first birthday. So you can see there, Joan Lunden prepares for Max and Kate's very first birthday. And then we had, Deborah, you came to visit us up in Maine at camp.
We did, yep.
And it was and Jeff said, hey, Deb, what's a few more hot dogs on the grill? And it's funny because I got to tell you, when Jeff and I went to a premiere of a movie that Angelina Jolie, when she was still with Brad, that she had directed, and we went to the party afterwards, and I went up and we were talking about how many kids she had, how many kids I had, and and Jeff said, I just figure what's a few more hot dogs on the grill. And she said, oh, that's what Brad always says. So, of course, Jeff's always saying, me and Brad Pitt, you know. And then along came, I'll show you first, along came Kim and Jack. Here they are. I'll show everybody. There's Kate and Max. Now, they are 20 months apart. And I think Kim and Jack, they were just little tykes. They were like, I don't know, a month or two old when we did that. And I remember it was up in Maine at camp that Jeff said to you, we still have some very freezing cold little embryos. Would you do it again? And you agreed.
100% agreed. I would do it right now if I could. Absolutely.
Oh, don't tell Jeff that.
Come on, Jeff.
So
come out of retirement.
You've had now 3 sets of twins.
3 sets of twins.
Woohoo! In addition to your own 3 girls, who are now, our girls were very similar in age. So I want to show you here. Let me see how I can do this. I want to show you a couple of photographs because, you know, Max is down in Florida. He and Jeff were down there when this whole thing happened. So here they are. I'll show you first. I think you probably have already seen this picture because I send these things to Deborah.
Yes.
That's
all the time.
Kate, Max, and Kim and Jack up at camp. And hold on, let me show you. I want to show everybody. Like, this is like so cool because, like, what mother doesn't want to show pictures of her kids? This is where we were college, you know, going. Can you believe that Kate and Max are going to be 17 years old? Kate and Max are next to. Kate and Max are right next to Jeff, and Kim and Jack, who are 15, are right next to me. Well, they grew up to be fabulous, wonderful kids, and we wouldn't have them without you, Deborah. You will just always be the most important person in our life. So thank you a million times.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. This is so much fun. Bye-bye, Deb. I loved being able to do that. I mean, and just let you know a little bit about what the surrogacy experience is like. And look, not everyone has a wonderful experience. They try real hard to match up the right surrogate to the right. Wait a minute. I just saw Victoria Bolig. That's one of Deb's daughters. And oh, great. Diane Jewell, you're saying best show ever. Great story. Christine. Okay, I'm so glad that you guys liked this. I mean, it's just one of those things that I experienced in my life. We read about it. Like in the beginning, there were so many like bad stories about it. And, you know, it's one of those stories that I love to share. I mean, shameless book plug. I shared it also in Why Did I Come Into This Room? Amazon now sending out books. But it let Jeff and me build a family, which was amazing. And you know what? My older girls are so close to us and such a part of our lives. And Jeff was saying that when they were kind of, you know, they were in high school and when all of this was happening. And, you know, they went off to college, and then, you know, went off to their careers, but they always wanted to come back and be around because there was just so much fun happening at this house. So I should say that was the older twins are going to be 17 on June 10th. But tomorrow, I'm going to be celebrating my wedding anniversary, the 20th, with this guy. This is probably one of the first pictures that we had together because I met Jeff in November 16th. And we then went up to Maine. He wanted to show me camp. And I remember he wanted me to go snowmobiling out on the lake. And like, I'm a daredevil. I you guys know I'm a daredevil. But I'd never done something like that on a frozen lake, and I thought, oh my God, this lake, is it really completely frozen all the way through? I don't really know for sure. And I was worried that my snowmobile might, that we might come to a part that was not so frozen, and that we might I might fall right through the ice. And remember when I read to you out of my daughter's book that she did when she was six, and she said, Mom doesn't like to get wet? Somehow she knew that at 6. And here we were so this is us there with the snowmobile out zooming around Long Lake, which turned out to actually be frozen. I'm happy to report we didn't fall through. But best 20 years ever, sweetheart. Best 20 years ever. So it is Friday. I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'd say, TGIF, what are you doing this weekend? Except we're all going to pretty much be the same place we are today, but try to make it a good one. Read a book, work on a jigsaw puzzle, watch a movie with your family, color with your kids, whatever. And I'll see you back here on Monday. And by the way, interestingly, on Monday, I'm going to be talking about couples and relationships with an expert therapist on couples therapy, because marriages are really being tested right now, where they're all cooped up together 24/7. All of a sudden it's like, what are you squeezing the toothpaste like that for? Or, you put the toilet paper on the reel the wrong way. By the way, sweetheart, I put it on the right way. You didn't put the toilet seat down. I'll bet down in Florida that my husband and my son have left the toilet seats up the whole time there. And why? Because they can. So, but little quibbles can become very big problems right now because people are so stressed and high anxiety. So we're going to talk about that and some ways that we can kind of keep the temperature down a little bit in houses when, you just get really upset about things that, like one of the chapters in my book is, will it matter in 5 years? The answer is usually, nah. And if it won't matter in 5 years, then don't let it, get under your skin now. So I'll look forward to that on Monday. We're going to talk next week about the real estate market and what's happening to houses and this incredible exodus out of New York City and other major cities that people just didn't want to stay at an epicenter. And the rental market in all the surrounding areas just skyrocketed, and so did the prices to rent those houses, which most of them are having to rent through the end of the summer. So I just thought it would really be interesting to find out about that. So I have a whole bunch of really interesting guests next week. If you want to tell me, and you don't necessarily want to put it in the scroll, but you want to tell me about some of the dumb things that you might be arguing about with your husband, or, just the emotional, the level of being tense and kind of at each other's throats a little bit, you can private message me here on Facebook. And if you have questions for this guy, I'll ask them. All right. Everybody have a great time. Namaste. Stay home. Stay well.